It's hard to believe that we only have 4 songs after this before we're officially done with YSM for a while. The fact that Party Island has gotten this far into YSM without a video is shocking to say the least, as it's one of the most divisive islands in the game. Some people like it and others hate it. While I'm not as passionate about this song as I have been for other ones, I still feel as if people are overinflating both of these sides. Let's just take a look at it and see what I mean by that. Number 3 on the bottom list is Edemi, who provides very little to the song, making its inclusion questionable if not wasted. It's not all bad though, since it's at least audible enough to be heard in the full song. It's just a shame they didn't do more with its rhythm, since it's shown on Continent to be very much capable of being amazing. Also, this is in no way at all an actual reason for being in bottom, but I do not like the way its idle animation has a clap right when T-Rox makes his clapping noise, as that confused a lot of people when this monster first came out. At number 2 we have Scupps, and along with that, an example of how to absolutely not do Scupps in an MSM song. This thing is real bad, guys. I can't even deal with it. Scupps is known for one thing above all else, and that's having rhythmically intriguing tracks thanks to its oddly specific way of making noise. This island throws that entire concept out the window to make this painfully slow, painfully simple, painfully not Scupps track that fails in so many ways. Beyond that, all its animations are terrible and the HD textures look awkward, so this transition to Dawn of Fire is just a complete failure. Number 1 is very similar to the 2 we just did in the fact that it is an absolute failure of bringing a monster from one game to another. It is so unbelievably painful to think about and witness that no other monster could have taken this spot. T-Rox fails in every way of encapsulating what made it special and cool in MSM, and it was really obvious that zero effort was put into putting it in this game. First off, this sound font is really bad. It carries very little kick and is easily inferior to the one that was used in the original MSM and even the one in Composer. The track itself is also just really boring, with a short phrase that's just constantly droning on and on with no flair or flourishments. Lastly, if you zoom in on the artwork for it at all, you'll find so many errors and bad cropping that it'll just be disheartening. Overall, this is easily one of the worst ways an MSM monster has been transitioned into Dawn of Fire, and it's just painful. There's only one dishonorable mention this time around, and it's Ma. This track is great and all, but it has an awful clipping issue on the end of the loop that drags it down significantly. All BBB has to do to fix this is take the track and mix the two tracks together more smoothly. It would take literally 5 minutes. If you haven't noticed by now, the theme with the bottom 3 is almost a direct parallel to the top 3 of the last episode. It's all percussion, and this time around they all fail hard at doing their main job. This song would be actually amazing if the percussion worked better, as the reason it sounds so slow and sluggish is because of how unenthusiastic the beat is. Want proof? Well, here's the top 3 to show you what the good on this island is. Number 3 is honestly really shocking. It's Candelabra, who I honestly never expected to see anywhere near the top 3. This time around, its track is actually very complimentary and helps add a sense of wonder and excitement to the main verse. It blends in really nicely with the melodies and with Chorister, making the two together feel like a full orchestral choir. It's really nice, and I'm glad they did this monster so well on Party Island. It deserved it. So, at 2 we have an interesting case because originally it was supposed to be Stog. The issue comes in the fact that I've talked about Stog so often that I genuinely have run out of things to say about it. So instead, Stog has conceded the rest of its time to talk about a different monster, this being one of the honorable mentions, Pom Pom. I thought this was appropriate because people seem to really hate Pom Pom and I need a bit of extra time to explain its reasoning for being an honorable mention. First off, to address the elephant in the room, the whole whisper thing is absolutely not bad at all because it's not musical. Since it's not musical, you can't really judge it as a musical thing, so instead it's just a funny little flourish to fill in dead air. Other than that, the other tracks are really good musically and fill up the song nicely, especially when accompanied by the other two partners in singing. This track is overhated for very little reason since it's a perfectly good one that is really nice in the full song. Number 1 realistically should have been Stog, but talking about it is still boring, so I was originally going to move it down to 2 before replacing it with the honorable mention, which made number 1 a kind of a weird choice. Potbelly is probably the best it's been in a long time on this island. It has a really fun melody, and the use of the two heads is inspired and well thought out. It's honestly kinda disappointing I don't see more people talking about how good this track is, because it deserves a whole lot more credit than it actually gets. This track is just genuinely really good, especially for Potbelly, who's usually really... Honorable mentions include the following monsters. Shrub is funny as always, and out of all the percussion, it's one of the best ones, so it easily takes an honorable mention spot. Quibble has a really nostalgic sounding melody that just really makes me happy. Its track in the main verse as well is pretty good at building the hype factor. Like I said earlier, the only issue with Mob was the weird looping splice, because everything else about this track is really sick, and it's the best Ma outside of Plant. So, Party Island. It's okay. Its main downside is just how lame the rhythm of the song is outside of the main melodies. There's so many monsters that do barely anything or just don't impact the song enough to warrant being there. I do agree that the song is insanely tedious, but I feel like people misunderstand why that is. All this song needs is one major percussionist. Just one percussionist that has a sick rhythm and ups the feel of the tempo, and this song becomes an absolute banger. As it is right now though, it's a decent song that has barely anything wrong with it. It's just got some really big oversights that leave it kind of empty feeling. So we only have 3 songs left before the big finale, and all 3 of them should be really interesting episodes to do. Hopefully everything goes smoothly and we can get some of the series concluded by the end of February. Anyways, that's it for me, and I'll see you all in the next video. I can't believe I'm doing this, but Party is like almost top of A. It's not a bad song. The issue is mostly just it's not that entertaining. But think about it. What's the issue with Cave? It's got like 3 awful monsters. What's the issue with Fairy? It's got like 2 awful monsters. What's the issue with Air? It's got like 4 awful monsters. Every island beneath those have awful monsters. What's the worst monster on Party? Oh, it's just not that interesting. I wish it could be more interesting. It's kind of wasteful. None of the bad monsters are bad, they're just not inspired. Party Island has upsides, and it doesn't really have downsides. The downsides are mostly in the way the song is structured, but again, it's to the point where I can put it on and I can listen to it and be like, wow, there's not really any bad part of the song. And that's kind of amazing considered how hated this island is. It has qualities, it's got strengths. If I was ranking this personally, I'd probably put Cave higher. But Cave has really big sticklers that prevent it from being like an amazing song. Party isn't an amazing song, but it also just has no sticklers. It's just good, and that's amazing.